What's up, y'all? Jody Williams coming at you. ArmTalk special edition Sunday night for some of you guys on the East Coast. I'll be having a bunch of people coming in momentarily. As you saw, that was Corey Miller. He's going to change it to a different room. But today's topic is been announced. It is the 64-man, not round robin, but tournament. It's going to take place March 2nd, Loveland, Colorado. I'm going to have everybody who's involved just kind of chime right in here. So first things first, here's Chris Drummond. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, Jody. Hey, Ben.
Cool. Welcome to the show. So I was before I got live, I was trying to let everybody know what the whole purpose of this is. This is one of the it's never been done before. And when you say 64 man, the first thing some people look at is like, oh, okay, 64 man, not entries, but one class only. So I don't know what the over the top situation was, but I got a feeling it was something like this, maybe where you got 64, the closest guy as possible, and not so much the cream of the crop. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So what's your thoughts on this?
Hang on a second. I'm trying to figure out this damn piece. Oh, excuse me. I have a bit of a foul mouth, so I hope this doesn't get demonetized right away.
Oh, no. This is rated R.
Oh, thank God. I mean, I think it's great that we have an opportunity to showcase, no offense to anybody, but a bunch of mid-level guys. Am I right? Pretty mid. And such a big bracket, too, so we really get an idea of who's who in this heavyweight division who are, right outside of that top 20 ranking spot. And I think it's really great. So, yeah, good mix. And it's nice that, it's an invitational, but you still got to compete to get in, and that's neat.
Exactly. So, Corey, why don't you go ahead and kick things off and stuff? I mean, you got people in the chat watching. You got Ryan watching, Casey Allen watching. Those gentlemen will be in here. Troy Brown's in the house. He will be in here. By all means, tell us what you got going on and how this can and will not be manipulated.
Yeah. So, first off, the concept here is to get, like Chris said, we're trying to get 64 of those mid-level amateur to low-level pro kind of guys. We're not shooting for high-end pros or anything of that standard. We want to keep this with those type of people. So any manipulation of people trying to create matches to drop their scores or put themselves in a situation where they can make it into the tournament is not going to be allowed. And I already know 99% of all you people, so certain individuals trying to drop scores to get into this is not going to happen. The point here is to make it easier for guys who are up and coming, who want to go to more tournaments, who want to just have the ability, by not having to worry about money anymore, to be able to go to things like Worlds or Nationals or an East Coast event or, all that kind of stuff. So for a pro that is not good enough to beat the best, but could win this, those kind of guys need to get out and travel more and do their own thing. And eventually, the idea here is that the 64-man pays for itself, obviously, and the extra money that we accrue from, selling some shirts and whatever else, we would use that money to bring in, some of the lower level pros or high end pros and just say, for example, it'd be like, me versus somebody or whatever, and then just say, show up, weigh in, $1,000 to the winner, something like that, where they don't have entry fees, they don't have anything. They've already proven themselves. They're elite pullers. They just show up and they win money. And that's the idea, is that we build from this, we keep growing it, we pool the money, and then eventually it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's these extra super matches, there's the extra round robins, the sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. But the basis all comes from the guys who are traveling the country, who need a little extra money to get around, and this is the way, And then as far as the bracket goes, a lot of people are confused on, or not, I wouldn't say confused, but what kind of, I'd say, curious about why I chose to do it high to low as far as rating goes. Well, the high to low is geared to allow for every single person that's in this to have a chance at winning. And
Right.
there is no easy way. There's literally no easy way to win this thing. The best guy is going to pull the next best guy, and he has to beat all the best guys to get there. And same thing from on the bottom side. The 64th guy has to beat the 63rd guy all the way up the bracket. If anything, if you're at the bottom side of the 30, each 32, those guys actually have the hardest route because they're constantly going up, whereas the guys from the top are constantly going down. So the lowest guy seeded wise per side of the bracket technically has the hardest, in a sense, the hardest matches each time. But
it's because they're both they're seated last in their respective side of the bracket.
Right.
They're the worst.
Yeah. And not necessarily the worst.
Right.
But
air quotes.
But yeah, the whole idea is to make it hard for everybody, right? I don't want to make it easy for any one person to just go smash through the whole thing. And I love, so just so everyone else knows that's not in our chat already, our little chat that we have going is pretty awesome. We got some fired upness going in there, and that's great. That's fantastic. That's what we want. We want all that. But I love how you guys are like assuming that there's somebody that's just gonna come through and beat everybody. Like,
I
this
have
is the guy.
zero assumption, Corey. I have zero assumption. I'm excited because I feel that where it's really going to be the biggest mix up, the biggest, ratings change from is going to be right in the middle of the pack, the number 20 guy to the number 10 guy.
Yeah.
Those guys are so close in points that there might be a sleeper in there that nobody's really aware of. Like, the guys in the chat, and it's like, oh, Joe's going to run through everybody, or this guy's going to do this. Nobody knows anybody from Tom, Dick, or Harry. Like, there's a few people that know a few people, and that's it.
Yep. And that's the best part about this, right? Is I'd say more than half of the group, well over half, have never pulled each other. Like, there's a handful of people that have pulled each other, but the majority of the people who are pulling each other first have never pulled each other, and that is, that's going to really set the precedence for getting these 64 people like spit polished clean with ratings. And
100%.
We will know exactly who the best guy is after this. And
I'm excited about this because I've pulled Casey Allen before. I've pulled Roger Learn before. Never pulled Chris Drummond, Frank Callahan. Me and Lewis we're good buds, but I never actually pulled him in a tournament setting. So there is no
I'm a
easy
great
way
tournament puller.
Yeah.
Shitty practice puller.
There is no easy way out, so no matter how you slice it. And I know that this thing is so monumental big because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're the first class to be put on the pedestal about this. So if you're guys out there who are 198 pullers, just kick back and just watch and just train now. So if you're in that list right now you should be training right now, because I'm not sure when Corey and Frank are going to release the next weight class, but if you're at 54 or 76 and then some, or even the supers, I don't know if you're doing the 220, but now's the time to start training now because you don't know what class they're going to do next. So can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, so I should have probably brought that up. So our venue, I can't say enough about this venue. The lady that runs this place is taking a huge chance on us. She signed a contract that is giving us $1,000 per event. So every event I run, we're already $1,000 ahead, which basically helps pay for all of our refs and all that jazz. The venue is super excited about having us there. Now, this venue is not big. It's maybe a max 175, but we are going to pack this thing solid with people. I mean, and that's all they really want. They really just want this thing to be hammered with people. And the Tom Davis Saloon, is taking a good chance on us to make this happen. They already have, plenty of streaming stuff set up, which, I'm not going to really not going to use their streaming stuff to begin with. But I'm going to bring in, I'm going to actually talk to Robert Kelly about bringing him in to do a bunch of streaming stuff this first go around. So we'll have him there. But Tom Davis Saloon, they have 3 places. They have the Tom Davis Saloon, a whiskey bar that's right across the street, and then they have like an actual restaurant. So, you know, hats off to those guys for helping us out, making this happen, sponsoring the event. It's great. Another one that you may know, Jody, Jonathan Woody out of Oregon, I believe.
Yep.
Jonathan Woody is also putting $1,000 in to helping me run this thing.
Wow, good man.
I think he's sending me a check or something, but so that money I'm going to use to pool in to build up this thing. Been looking at we have custom shirts that are getting made. I kind of sent that guy to you guys. I'm still working on the guy. He's making me some right now and sending them so I can see if the quality is good enough. I don't want to do anything crappy, but
no. So Corey, question for you.
Yeah.
So for whoever wins, there's that $5,000 paid sponsorship.
Yeah.
Let's say miracle, Cinderella story, I win. And I take the sponsorship. Can I go to Australia?
So that's a good point. So the $5,000 sponsorship is geared towards going to events that are sponsored or produce information for Aries. So
okay,
I don't think Australia does do that.
No, I don't think so.
But if you are going to Worlds, that's a different story. We will pay for Worlds because I am all for people going to Worlds and Nationals and that kind of stuff because that's a great experience. That's Jody's goal is to win and pay for his way to go to Worlds.
I'm right there with you, Jody. I want to get a qualifier and get squared away and get there. I got my passport this year, so that's a bucket list item to check off.
Yeah. So a big thing there is again, anyone who submits stuff to Aries, those are all free game. You can go to any of those. If you decide to go to Australia, I'm not against it. You know, that's great. Go to Australia. Take me with you. But yeah. I
got a free place to stay, Mario.
Yeah. So I mean that's fine. We want you to travel. We want you to show off the stuff. We want you to put out stuff for sponsors. But we have to try to get information from them somehow.
Sure.
And then there's a couple caveats in there, and I'm sure you guys have all read the contract or what contract form or pre-reg thing or whatever. So again, you know, for everyone else out there who's listening that's not in this thing yet, if for some reason you get hurt, you know, throughout the year, and you still have money left over in that thing, if you have a minimum of $1,000 in there and you want to buy yourself out of the contract of the 5,000 and you're injured, we can give you $1,000 check and you can let the rest of the money go into the next pool. And so I feel like personally, I think that's a good thing because, you know, we all get hurt sometimes. And if you're out traveling more, doing a lot more armor, and you tear a bicep or something, then, you know, you might need that money to help get through or something like that, which is great.
Sure. Makes sense. Oh yeah. No, makes
if by some chance, you know, you win and you don't want that 5,000, there's, I think it's $1,500 you get, and we write you a check and you go on with your merry way, and the next class gets even bigger. So, you know, or we invite some super matches in or whatever. The whole point is this thing just keeps building on top of each other and growing and growing and growing.
And that's what I'm looking at. You know, I know Jody, Jody's traveled around a bit. You've traveled around a bit. Chris, you know, he's had his world, you know, titles running around, you know, traveled around a bit. Frank has been around the United States. I've been around the United States. I think this is a great opportunity for everybody involved, who, regardless of who you are, to, you know, showcase your stuff. Right. So this is going to be live stream. It's going to be shown regardless of wherever this is. What's that? It's not High Five. It's not Arm Wars. I can't remember. Like, it's another one of those things where
Knuckles
Is it
up.
Knuckles Up? It might be where you can pay and like showcase your stuff and send them videos and your rankings and your scores, and then they'll look at your stuff and go, okay, that's an athlete that I want, and bring you on. It's one of them. And same thing with Arm Wars, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we're looking at a bunch of pay-per-view things. We've been working on that for quite some time, but the whole key is if you come to the bar to watch it in person, we're doing a $5 door fee for anyone who isn't an arm wrestler, just to help the bar get some money back, obviously. But I'm gonna live stream it with Robert Kelly, and probably have something along those lines. If we get pay-per-view running by then, great. If we don't, whatever. I'm not stressing about pay-per-view at the moment.
I think the more we build this thing up, I think you may have to. It's only it's still November, gentlemen, and we're sitting up here. We're off to a running start. You got people in the chat. We got the group chat going on, and I want to get some feedback. So now that a lot of people are on now, Chris Drummond and Frank Callahan, by all means, chime in, gentlemen. What do you guys think about this whole setup?
Chris,
one thing
first.
One thing I was going to point out real fast for is that we've in our chat we've already had this comment, is there's a lot of people that think they're really high rated or are better than they really are, but the performance of your actual matches speaks otherwise. Like I don't want to talk bad about anyone, because I think all you guys are great and you're doing this is awesome. But like prime example would be Jody. He's been to Arm Wars, he's been all these places, whatever. But as far as his matches are concerned, right-handed, he's not as good as a lot of people think he is. So left-handed, different story. Jody is a lot better left-handed, and everyone knows that. But right-handed, we're about to find out how good Jody really is.
Well, Jody,
you're the same way, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't overrate me because I beat Robert Baxter at the John Brzenk Cup. My right's very mid. All right.
But
that was supers anyways. That was supers.
But still, I think Chris.
I got to pack weight on.
Overall, I still pulled 42s.
Yeah, the point is that people like you, people like Chris, that people assume are good is not necessarily the idea here. Like you're not even the highest rated person in the class right now. The highest rated person is Edo right now, which.
Yeah, and what's funny is Edo, I brought Edo. Edo used to come to me and then work with me and be like, hey, how do I do this? What do I do here? Right. And then I decided to have a baby and life took over. So, I couldn't train the same and watch these individuals climb and go and move. And then you get an opportunity with them at like Arizona State. And it's like, oh, I'm really not that far behind, right. Which is he just has a few more competitions than I have. He's got a few more matches than I have. So he's got that rating. If I had if I had more opportunity, more time to take that opportunity to pull and get wins and just actually literally just showing up, I get points. So
well, and this is the biggest tournament that's ever, or I should say, the biggest bracket that's ever been ran ever. As far as I know of, I've never heard of a 64-man bracket. This is. Anything past 40s is crossing way over world's levels. So
there's probably been a bracket in Turkey that's been this big before, because the Turkish Nationals is insane. But
I don't know about 60 guys.
I don't know either. But
maybe 40s. I don't know about 60s.
I bet Engen.
Hey, Robert Lopez in the show. Hey, Robert, can you unmute your? Can you unmute?
What up? Yeah,
there
I got football in the background, so I'm not trying to.
It's all right. My Steelers won. I'm happy. Steelers won. Close game. Whatever. We're good.
KC, baby.
Over 400 yards about total offense. I like it.
It's about
you can call this March Madness, right? You can call it whatever you want. March Madness, however the case may be. It'll be interesting. And the thing is, though, gentlemen, is that you got to realize, because the question was asked earlier in our little group chat, how does it go as far as who pulls who? This thing, because we only got 32 coming so far, right?
35.
So that number can change by the end of the night. It can change by the end of the week. There may be more people below me, more people above me, whatever the case, and same for you guys too. So it's really by the time February 1st rolls around, which is the deadline, we'll have a good idea who's pulling who. Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm just, you know what makes me just so happy is Greg Brown's holding it down on that bottom spot. Attaboy, Greg.
Wow.
Love you, Greg.
It's actually hilarious.
Hey, there's still people below him, so I mean, he's still got
there
a
you
chance.
go.
Yeah, but are they going to enter though?
You never know.
Well, see, that's just it. Like, I love Greg for that fact, right? Greg's done a WAL tournament. He's competed at some levels. He's done a bunch of different things. He's been around for quite a while, right? He's doing the whole promotional thing. And it's just, I love him to death because he works just so damn hard, and he's just right there. And like, he shows that, you know what, he's got the confidence regardless of his rating. And I think that what is stopping these other people. They're like, oh, he's at 1480, he's at 1560. And it's just like, and you have no idea until you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the ratings admittedly only sometimes tell parts of a story, but that's why obviously the more matches you have, the more accurate it is. Also,
Right.
Nobody can hide with Aries anyways, right? Like, even if you only have 10 matches, I can go look and be like, I know these guys you lost. I know these guys you won against. I have a good idea of where you're at.
Right. I went to Texas as a nobody, only out-of-stater at a TAL qualifier, smoked absolutely everybody except for Billy Ortegas, beat all the guys that beat Billy Ortegas, and was like, well, what the hell is this?
Was
That's
it
because I've been telling Frank, Texas. So
problem is really, if you want to get the best competition in Texas, Texas State is really where most people show up. We have
That's what it was. It was a Texas State and San Antonio.
Yeah, we have 6 or 7 qualifiers, and so throughout the year we just have, like, there's tournaments honestly every 3 weeks in Texas somewhere. So
yeah.
And
then it was
it's hard
funny,
to
and
get
then
the best
You
guys.
guys are like Florida.
Say again?
You guys are like Florida, where you got a tournament like every 3 or 4,
Yeah,
almost every 2 or 3 weeks.
Unlike Florida, they actually have rules, and they compete, nicely. Minus the guys from Houston. Those guys are
hopefully Chance can bring balance to the force over there.
maybe. No, those boys in Houston, I like those boys. They just beat me up after the tournament, and I ended up getting injured on after pulls. So I was like, oh well, life goes on.
So, gentlemen, here's a question: is there any particular guy that you know so far that has committed that you're interested in pulling? I mean, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of guys here.
I want to
know, but never pulled before.
Just kidding.
You want to rip my arm off?
Honestly, I'm truly honestly interested in everybody. Right? There's like obviously Chris. Chris is a name. People know who he is. He posts his videos. Like, stop trying to pronate. Fucking love the video. It was phenomenal. It was a great video to have. All the other videos of everything you do, like, love it. All you guys, I'm looking forward to absolutely everybody. Huh?
Make sure you subscribe to your YouTube channel, by the way.
Oh, I am.
I want people in the chat to subscribe to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Subscribe to Chris Drummond. Great videos.
Chris, you make YouTube videos?
Yeah, I got a couple thousand subscribers.
Oh man, I gotta check this out.
It's not big time.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
I'm looking forward.
I never wanted to be the YouTube guy, and I wanted to stand on my competitive accolades. But the fact is, nowadays it's pretty much me pulling guys like Pavlo and Jordan and Robbie Topi and Doug Allen, and I don't pull anybody. Like, I don't go to a lot of like local tournaments and stuff. But on the other hand, the YouTube thing blew up, and now it's like small times. Every time I go to an event, people are like, "Oh, can we take a picture?" and all this. I'm like, guys, who do you think I am? I'm just some dude from Cincinnati.
Good, embrace it, because what's it like in Ohio? I mean, the competition out there.
Actually, so we've got some excellent left-handers in Ohio. So Doug Allen moved out of Ohio, but I mean, there's still Paul Talbot. There's a weirdo named Tyler Irwin who lives up in the Northeast. He's a super heavyweight. The only guy I've ever seen beat him was Austin Jaggers, and that's when they were both fairly new. Myself, of course, and then Hutchings is out here, but he didn't go to that many tournaments. Sometimes he'll go just to show up. But actually, what's a little bit stronger is there's a team in Northern Kentucky, and that, for the people who've been around a little longer, Mark Wilson, Matt Wilson, Wes Bjornson, Josh Reichert, some guys that have been a little, out of since right before the pandemic. These guys haven't really been competing, but all guys who were top 5 in their weight classes just a couple of years ago. And everybody that got into arm wrestling when the pandemic hit, they don't know who these guys are. And those are the guys that when I need a tune-up, I'll go pull with. But yeah, competition-wise, it's like most of the heavy hitters around here don't really go compete. We go elsewhere. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it is with me in Idaho. I've got Robbie Topi, I've got Matt Bittner, and then I've got 2 just absolute physical specimens. The Schmidt brothers. Their littlest brother deadlifts 805 at 18 years old. It's just like,
yeah, I know those guys. That's Aquaman and Thor.
Yeah, that's literally, they look like they could be related. So it's like they tune me up and throw me around, and like Matt Bittner, I swear, Matt Bittner, he's really an unknown name, and I'm really hoping to get him out. He's in like the 2, he'd probably stay under 220, and he throws Robbie around right hand, and he gives Robbie a real good match left-handed. I mean, and the kid is 200 pounds. I mean, he is an absolute just amazing hand, awesome bicep, and just Alan Fisher pulled with him, and he's just running around. So it's like, it's good to see all of this, and I'm looking forward to the more tournaments that Corey's going to be putting on. But yeah, it's like you with the guys you have in Cincinnati and other Kentucky. We don't know who's pulling what and how we're getting our training in. You just have the big guys that that are in their top, and that's where you go.
Yeah. So
there's a statement from Casey Allen, and maybe Corey and Frank can answer this because I think I know where Casey's coming from. He says, I also don't always pull 242. If I can pull lower, I usually do. My matches all over the weight bracket. So I've seen Casey pull the 220 class if it's offered. He's down to pull 198. So when you get somebody like a Casey Allen, right, and he qualifies for this, and let's just say he goes to this tournament on March 2nd, and he figures out, man, I didn't do too well. Maybe I can cut weight and go to the next one. Is there a chance where somebody who's eligible to pull multiple classes, can they?
Yeah. So basically the idea is that we're allowing you to compete in as many as you qualify for, regardless of what you actually weigh. And then
you can't win multiple.
Yeah, you can't win multiple times, but you can.
Gotcha.
So if like Jody wins, for example, and you want to pull the supers as well, and if you win the 42s, you can't pull the supers.
Well, if you win, why would you even go again, though?
I mean, because you're trying to double down, I guess. I don't know, but
I mean, I'll take
yeah.
10
So
grand.
you only win one of them. One in a year's time frame. So next year they can look at it if that weight class comes up or whatever.
But the odds are of you winning and then re-qualifying for the same weight class are
exactly
completely void. Like,
yeah,
like if you win, you're gaining 60, 70 points or something probably. So
yeah, the whole idea here is that if you win, you're going to move up far enough out of this line that now we're going to push you to pull other people in other tournaments. And Jody's going to Winter Blast. He's going to this. He's going to that. And we spread the ELOs around and get people pulling who's never pulled each other. So that's the whole idea here. It's not to just keep making the same person this, $5,000 winner over and over. But,
right.
But
so
I think,
with that being said, and I think what makes it so monumental, it's not a tournament. Whereas, I just came from San Diego about a few weeks ago, and the World Series of Arm Wrestling Finals, and they paid through 5th place, I think. And this is all or nothing. This is more like, okay, it's all or nothing, meaning that first place takes it, everybody else is just doing whatever. But there is that respect. So even if the guy in the 64-man bracket took second, third, fourth, or whatever, there's still some respect on that person's name. And people got to remember too that those Aries points do go up. So
oh yeah,
Am I right or no?
Yeah, no, you're 100%. The guy. I thought about paying out, doing payouts and stuff like that, but to me, for this level of people, it didn't make sense to do payouts like that because I wanted to
Right.
mean something to win first place. Like $5,000 of going anywhere, doing anything I want. $5,000 is literally the ability to go anywhere. You can do 10 plus tournaments for that kind of money.
Oh God, yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's life changing for somebody who's wants to go to Winter Blast, wants to go to this, wants to go to some nationals tournament, want to go to Worlds, for an example. That's awesome. So that's like you winning $1,000. Yeah, okay, whatever. But winning 5,000 at your level or whatever, that's substantial. So
Well, not only that,
yeah.
we're talking sponsorship because I don't know how many
Yeah.
people on this show in the chat have had a sponsor before, but I was sponsored by Country Crest once upon a time. Then, of course, they went into business. But again, to be sponsored, because again, we all look at the cream of the crops in this sport, how they got sponsors, this, that, and the other. And, there are times where it's like, man, I wish I can go there, but maybe the funds aren't there yet. So this is an opportunity for everybody to go, hey, you win this, you are a sponsored Aries athlete. Now, by doing so, can you guys explain to everybody in the chat and on the show what exactly are your responsibilities if you were to win the 64-man Super Series and become a sponsored athlete?
Yeah, so we want you to wear our attire that we give you. I'm looking. I still have one sponsor on the hook right now, so I might get some. I can't release names or anything yet, but if I get stuff from him, then I'll have that too. So obviously wear our gears, promote Aries, go to tournaments that are promoting Aries, like, share, follow, post on the pages. You know, the basic stuff, right? If you're gonna film yourself, film it, tag Aries on it. Do all that kind of stuff. Nothing crazy, right? Nothing that you guys aren't already doing.
Right.
Yeah, I working with Tim and Jody and you with Arm Sports Entertainment. I with permission from Tim, I got the opportunity to sponsor an athlete. There were some young guys out of Arizona that I really wanted to have compete, and I told him, look, here's the deal. I will pay for the next 10 tournaments or I think it was 5 tournaments. I'll pay for your next 5 tournament entry fees, provide you with shirts, your name on the shirt if you want it. I did this out of the goodness out of my heart and my own money. This was but it was an arm sports thing. It's to get, the growth of the sport and to get
Right.
that, to get people to come, right? Everybody's like, oh, I'd love to come, but I just can't afford I can't afford $50 for an entry fee plus plane tickets plus this. It's like, okay, well, how can we help you?
Yeah. Yeah. And,
So
and then
this
we're
is
like,
an amazing opportunity.
yeah. And I'm
Who
looking
wants
at,
to tackle this
I'm looking at
question
like,
from Grizzly Iron?
does your ranking change in a 220 weight class if you beat a guy that is higher rank than you in a 98? No. If you're arm wrestling someone in a 220 weight class, it doesn't matter what their ranking is in 98s. It matters what it is in 220s. So it's whatever weight class you're pulling in, I guess.
I think it could be a gray area, maybe. And let me see if Grizzly, if I'm on the same track. Let's just say 242 classes, we're talking about it. But then somebody from the 198 comes into our class and beats some of us. Does that put a dent in us, even though that he's a 198 puller, even though he hopped in our weight class?
Oh, if you're saying it like that, then I guess it depends on what he is. I guess, if he's a 198 guy and he does jump up into the 220s and he's not rated very high, yeah, it would probably ding you pretty good, but that's hard to say without examples of people, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
But then
So, yeah,
back to what Lewis was saying, I'm looking at, I've been showing Frank, and I've been looking at some bags, like some like duffel bag kind of things with the logos we can put on them, and water bottles and stuff. I'm talking about giving out to maybe like the top 16 each or something like that.
Some swag. Some
swag,
swag.
yeah.
And this has been. Go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying. I have a limited amount of money, so I have to be cautious on that. So
Right.
I'm trying to do what I can and get you guys something, but I can't pull the world right now. So
Right. And without saying too much, there's been some talk with Tim about, something similar to this where, and this can lead into this now with all of us working all together, with you, with me, with Jody, and Bob Brown and whoever else we can get on board to creating that world's team.
Yeah.
And then traveling and going to, and doing a PAL, or the world's teams goes, these guys all qualify the IFA and that team goes,
Right.
and putting all that together. And this is how this works, almost like an Olympic team type thing,
Right.
just like they do in India. God, dude, that's legit. They all got track suits and their own, everything's all legit. They all have their own little teams. Like that would be amazing to see it get that way here in the United States.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, my biggest thing, and I tell this to Frank all the time. I literally hammer him on Texas about this all the time. Is that I see, and Chris probably sees it too in Ohio. Ohio has got like a million freaking tournaments and a million different promoters. It seems like, but people don't travel as much as they used to. Like when I first started arm wrestling, I've arm wrestled in 26 states, and I feel like nowadays it's, I don't want to go outside my 4-hour bubble, so I'll just pull just these Texas tournaments, and then you got Texas guys who are only pulling this small little region and won't even go to state because it's 5 hours away and their bubble's 4. It's 4 hours, and the whole idea here is to break it down to where we bring these people out from all over the United States together to pull and to see where people really belong, and then get them out and traveling, get them out going here and going there and all this stuff. So, I think getting a person like Lewis to go over East Coast, go there, go to Texas, go to this, for free and
why is that?
Around, spread it wild. That's the idea here.
Here's my thought process with that. Maybe Frank can answer because he lives in Texas, and maybe, Chris in Ohio. So when you have states like that, Florida, Texas, California, Ohio, where, you have a lot of tournaments there, and there's so many pullers there that you don't really have to travel outside your state to get good competition. Whereas Lewis in Idaho, me in Oregon, arm wrestling is not as prevalent in comparison to you guys that it is with us. So we have to travel. Like at least you guys have a state champion. We don't have a state championship in Oregon. So I got to fucking travel, Washington, Idaho or Nevada to get a damn state title. Is pretty sad. But I understand what you're saying, Corey, about that. Yeah. How back in the day, in the early years, everybody would travel and it wasn't about the money. It was about the competition. And I'm glad the fact that you guys are putting this together now. Again, it's about competition, not about money. But I think nowadays, because it's so rich in pullers, and guys feel free to chime in on this, that the fact that you don't have to go anywhere to get good competition unless you want to really challenge yourself outside those borders. What do you guys think about that?
So I'll say first, there are way too many tournaments, and a lot of people compete way too often. So many people will compete every month, and you barely have time to recover and start training again before you go compete. And we have to acknowledge this is a strength sport. Yes, there's technique. Yes, there's combat elements to it, but this is primarily a strength sport. Mm-hmm. And you're not getting stronger most of the time by competing every month, which is why a lot of people, and this is endemic in Ohio, and it's something that I hate about it, they stop getting better after their second year. Once they get comfortable on the table, they're killing themselves on the table for 2 hours a week, and they're pulling every 4 weeks in a tournament, and that's it. They kind of reach a level in year 2, and they never get any better. And it, it really saddens me. But the other thing is that the promoters here, I'll say the ones that promote small tournaments, or there are probably 10 of them. I know most of these guys, and a lot of them, they don't really care about arm wrestling at all. They just want the money. they're not serious about promoting the sport. Some specific individuals I'm thinking, there are others that are really great, but they just don't have the reach. And the fact is, Ohio, we got a lot of great poolers, but there's Michigan right around the corner. Everybody goes to Michigan State's. Or back when they had Kentucky Muscle, they've canceled that event because of whatever the contract dispute is with the NPC. But there's you had Kentucky Muscle and you had Michigan State's, two of the largest tournaments year on year in the United States. So Ohio State is a joke of a tournament. Nobody shows up. Nobody takes it seriously if you win Ohio State's. It's okay, there are 6 guys there. So, and then not that far away in Chicago, you got guys like Chris Chandler and Pavlo, and Illinois State's another major event. So we're kind of stuck in the middle of things where if you're willing to travel 5 hours, you can get to some mega competition. But around here, most of the guys you're competing against, there are some really great guys, but you're competing with a lot of guys who are at that level of a second-year arm wrestler, and they just never get any better.
Right. It's very similar. So I moved to Idaho last year. I'll be here in Idaho for a year now, and I was in Arizona for primary at the time, and before things really took off in Arizona, I had to travel, and it was, nobody wanted to leave. Nobody wanted to leave unless they were going to get something. It wasn't, I got to get a trophy. It was, I want to get paid. If I'm not getting paid, I don't want to go, because I'm not going to pay the $40 to go to this. It was a big old issue. I got so pissed off at people and started calling everybody backyard pullers, and all y'all are just freaking practice champions and whatever else.
Man. doing the Lord's work. Doing the Lord's work, please.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, and Lewis, I see why you're frustrated. I'm gonna tell people right now. Yes, when you see me at Arm Wars, guess what? All that was on my dime.
Your entire way there.
Yes,
I know how it works.
When you see me at the Monster Factory, that was all me, right?
Oh yeah.
They didn't pay anything for me to go to England. They didn't pay anything for me to go to Monster Factory. That was all on my dime. So for people to say things like, well, I don't want to go unless you pay me. And maybe because when WAL first came out, nobody had that mind of thinking. This is my personal opinion. Nobody had that mind of thinking. Now when people get a slice of that pie, and then now people think that, oh, well, you got to pay my way. It's okay, now we got amateurs thinking that way too. It's really?
Well, and that's what's just
when
funny,
we all go. Oh, go ahead.
So what's funny is so Arizona right now, it's blowing up. There is practices, multiple times a week, and there's 50 to 70 people showing up to a practice. And now you've got some really great guys, Steve West, and he's a realtor down there who's got some money and some connections and things like this. And he's like, oh, I'm going to run this promotion, and we're going to set up these many super matches, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. So it's the same thing as Texas. It's the same thing in Ohio. Everybody just pulls everybody. They're all pulling in their own little super matches, and they're all putting their own money up against themselves, against another person, to do it instead of taking that risk and going out. I think it's awesome that they're doing what they're doing. I think it's getting the people involved, but I want to see more people travel to really test their mettle against other people. I didn't know where I stood until I decided to quit pulling in the beginner class after winning my first state title, left and right-handed, undefeated, and then just got slapped around for the next 4 years. And I traveled everywhere. I went to Washington, I went to Texas, I went to, wherever I could to go and pull and see where I'm at. And it was just okay. And then I come back and I'm just nothing has changed. Nothing has changed where it's at. And I think what it is, why people don't go places, and why Texas is the way Texas is, and Ohio is the way Ohio is, and Florida is the way Florida is, Arizona is the way Arizona is it's their bubble. It's their comfortability. It's a little bit of pride. They're people are afraid to damage their pride and to take their licks, outside of their own backyard. And Tim and I got mad at a bunch of people when there was an opportunity to do something in our own backyard, people didn't even want to go. It was like, oh, well, so-and-so's throwing a big old giant practice with super matches here. Why would we want to go there and compete against other people? It's like, wow.
Yeah,
So
that kind of stuff happens. It happens a lot.
That exact thing happens in Texas as well.
Yeah, this event is not meant for those people. It's not meant.
Is my mic
no, dude, I want to take
bit?
my licks. I want to take my bumps. I want to get, I had an opportunity to pull Jordan Sill in Utah. I mean, I felt cheated because I started underneath him, but that's just the way Jordan can finagle the referees. I don't understand it. I mean, that's what happens when you get Mr. Green as your referee. Huh?
Was the tournament in Utah?
Yeah. In Roy. So I mean, I took second or third at that tournament. I beat some Colombian national who beat Robbie and lost to Eric Wolf and Jordan Sill. I was like, all right, here we go.
Well, Corey, Robert Kelly's in the chat now. So is this something you want to tell him?
What? Say that again.
Robert Kelly's in the chat.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying earlier that I called Robert or messaged him, whatever. He's going to help me out doing streaming. He sees the goal here. He's gracious to come out and help us out. I gotta figure out how to get him some money afterwards to get him paid a little bit, but I can at least pay for his gas and everything else to get there. Hopefully I can sell some shirts or something along those lines to get him a little something, But I'm glad he's gonna come out. It's gonna be crazy setup how tight this place is. So just with the stage and some of you guys saw it online. So
yeah. So I know you can't. I know I've been working for Washington State to rock and roll with some of these sponsors. Have any of those sponsors crossed over to you, or have you reached out to any of them?
For you talking about with Tim?
For you.
Oh, so the one that the name that I cannot say, the sponsor I'm working on, that one would be a mutual one where it would be me and them at the same time. So
okay,
I'm using it as they're going to sponsor this and help me with this type thing. So
gotcha. And is that the same sponsor that I was working with that had contacted us that you and I had talked about, or is that somebody else? That's somebody else.
You don't even know about this one yet, so
no, I won't know until I get to Washington.
No, I haven't. I have only told a couple of people about them because they're still on the fence. But if I do land those guys, it's going to be pretty sweet because they're a really cool company. So
awesome. Well, and that's it. I'm trying to work, and we've got something for you, Jody, here in the future, and Corey, we're a little closer to you. We're going to be doing Idaho State Fit Expo. We're going to be running that. Tim's helping with that. So Arm Sports, get ready for that one.
In Boise?
Yep.
It's almost doable for me. It's almost doable.
Yep. So it's gonna be real fun because that one's supposed to be February 10th.
Oh.
I just want to apologize to Charles. Hey, Charles, I know you're trying to get in, and I need to upgrade this because it's only going to allow me to have 6 people on at one time. So I don't know if I can upgrade while I'm on live. I'm not sure. So
I'll let Charles come in. You guys have a good one. And, I've said my piece. I understand what's going on. I'm looking forward to all of it. I know, Jody, I'll see you in a week. Corey, I'll be missing you. You'll be, tied up with your kids. And then everybody else, it's just look forward to, to gripping up and holding hands with everybody else. So I appreciate you.
I was lagging earlier, Luis, but I was just going to basically say I 100% agree with you on the traveling and the practicing. And it happens in Texas. Like Corey said, it happens everywhere, but we have events in Austin or in San Antonio, and some guy from like the neighboring city, like a 45-minute drive or an hour drive, will complain and post like, how come there are never any events and enter some random city, town, and
Yeah.
that
Why
happens all
isn't
the
there
time.
any events in New Braunfels?
Right. How come there's not something literally in my backyard? We've
Why
had that.
isn't
We've
there
had
an
those.
event in
We've
Bear
had that.
County?
That's
So
real. That's so real.
yeah,
And
we've
then
had
they
it.
complain. Oh, it's $35. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's
Oh
that. I'm
yeah,
like,
dude, don't even get me started, man. I told another guy, I was like, hey, there's this event in Colorado, and they're like, oh, that's too far. I would have to fly. And I was like, oh, I mean, flights
That's cool.
to Denver are like $170 round trip. They're like, oh, I don't.
I went to the Arizona State Fair. That's amazing. You can talk about some amazing tournaments. That one, I say this with the most love. The man is 90 something years old. He's been running this tournament at the Arizona State Fair forever, and it's like it's a USSSA format, so it's ready, go. Yeah, old school. Start in a hook. There's no slip.
Steve.
I think something like that. Yeah. So he's.
I inducted him into the Colorado Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Lifetime achievement thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, the man's amazing. And it's just like everybody, nobody wanted to go to that one until we recently just got everybody, in and on it because they now get that opportunity to pull. And it doesn't cost them anything because everybody gets into the fair for free. And they don't have to pay the fee for it. And it's like, cool.
Well, I tell you what, in all honesty, gentlemen, when it comes to this event coming down March 2nd, Loveland, Colorado, we all can sit there and say who might be the favorite. Nothing wrong with that. It's just water cooler talk. But at the end of the day, we really don't know. We can speculate, but we don't know. Hell, it depends on who's on what side of the bracket to begin with. And then you just kind of go from there. There's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some, oh, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. There's going to be all kind of stuff, So that's what makes this thing so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that Daniel Price doesn't come because he's qualified technically, but
well, and that's the other thing. Like I didn't see Miguel Ortega. Like
no, he's on there.
Kid, he's a phenomenal. The guy's got great stamina, inside puller. He's pulled some. He pulled what's his name from Colorado? God, he's a big giant kid. At Arizona State that first year.
Sorry?
That super match. Huh?
Sorry, you talking about the heavyweight? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's super, so.
Yeah, well, he's supers now, but Miguel's cut down to like 220, 200, and he qualifies for this. Like he would give some people some trouble because the kid just goes sideways and has got a great holding spot.
Yeah. I've literally, I know I've said this like once or twice in the chat, but I have literally had probably 15 different people tell me that there's 10 different one of you guys that can win this thing. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So no one has a clue who's going to win this thing. That's great. Like there is literally no one on here that is favored to win. Everyone thinks there's a favorite, but there really isn't a favorite.
Oh, I don't even think, to be honest with you, I don't even think there's a favorite. I'm just ready to see some upsets. I'm ready to upset some people. I'm ready to surprise some people. I'm coming into this completely blind, not knowing anybody from anybody other than a few people, right? Ito is really the only other person that I know. The brothers, I can't remember his name, who's up there.
Justin and David.
Yeah. Those guys, like that's it. The Till brothers, that's it. Like that's all I know. Everybody else, you know what? Congratulations. I'm gonna do my best to get you. And if I win, great. If you win, congratulations. I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna fuck some shit up.
There you go.
I think that's probably the best thing too. Is like I don't really know a lot of people. There's a few people there, but as far as like you guys said about the traveling thing, I get tired of like I'm kind of like I'm tired of pulling the same people, so that's why I don't pull a lot. But I go to Michigan, I go to Indiana, Arkansas, that type of thing. I personally don't go to a lot of the Missouri tournaments anymore, just because it's the same people over and over and over. I want to. Like I told Corey, I was I mean, before this, I'd already told myself that I was done pulling. I was going to sell my tables and be done with it. I don't train that much because of my kids' softball. And after I seen this, I was like, okay, so this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm going to do this for sure.
Yeah,
so that's lit a fire for sure.
New sense of motivation. Y'all have a good night, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Yeah,
Hey.
Robert brings up a good point there. He messaged me.
I was gonna say since
He saw this.
What's that?
Oh, there. Sorry. I said Robert brings up a good point. He messaged me and he's all, yeah, I wanted to get in. I was thinking about retiring, and then I'm back in, and then it's funny because shortly after Robert did that, and I kind of made a comment in one of my other chats with somebody, I had another guy message me that said that, hey man, I haven't pulled whatever, which I actually know this guy pretty well, and he jumped in. So it's bringing guys who hadn't even arm wrestled in some time or wanted to quit or whatever, and now they got fire lit under them, and boom, they're back into it just like that. So it's cool. I like it.
I don't think this is only the first show about this, by the way, guys. I think since February 1st is the deadline, yes?
Yeah, February 1st, because I need to order shirts and stuff, so I got to have a month at least out to get all your shirts and crap done. So, plus it makes it more.
Once the deadline's there. But by that point, we'll know, by the time the deadline has come and gone, I think we all know who we're pulling the first round, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the second I got 64 guys, it's getting blasted. You guys are all going to know who's going to get whooped first, so.
Hey, you know what? We should do a show about that. You know how March Madness does that selection show?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be kind of, would it not? That'd be kind of cool, would it not?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That'd be awesome. We'll do who do you think's gonna win this type, like I did with the Lorraine and them guys. Who you got here, voted up kind of thing, and see where everyone actually ends up compared to.
Because I know Robert knows, Chris knows, everybody in the chat knows who's watching. The minute we see, or you shut everything down, and we kind of go, okay, brackets, wherever it's all prioritized, the minute we know who we're pulling, I guarantee you, those guys are going to start looking for video footage of their opponent. I already know that.
Oh yeah, they're going to be scouring. They're going to be scouring areas, but like, okay, Jamie or Jody has pulled this guy who I beat. Okay, I got to go look at that video. How did he lose to this guy? All that shit. So
they're gonna be making phone calls, dude. What's up with this guy? But that's the good part, because again,
that's what you want. That makes it interesting, right? That's what we really want. We want you guys to be gunning to beat everybody. Hell, I'd be ecstatic if fucking some guy from the far right hand side jumps over and wins this thing. Who's an up and coming that no one's really known yet, and that kind of thing. That's what would be awesome. Yeah, see, that guy's already watching.
He probably got a whole list going. All right, I'm gonna watch his videos. I'm watching those videos, and like I said, it's good. It's good. I'm glad they are. But we all know what you see back in September might be a little different than what you see in March. You know what I'm saying, and vice versa. So it just goes to show you that there's so much footage to look for. But yeah, they're gonna be focused on that first opponent. Then after that, let the pieces fall where they may.
Yeah, no, exactly. And worst case scenario, I'm gonna stick Frank in this thing and put him out there, and he's gonna beat on all you fools. So
yeah, I'm technically an alternate. An alternate for now.
He's an alternate because he does technically qualify, but
I
want him in there. I want him in. I just don't want him to take the 5,000 if he wins.
Well, it's like Casey said. He's just going to tear through the tournament with a flop press, just catter at everybody.
Oh my god! Casey Allen's going to flop press every single person, right?
No, he said that Frank.
Probably.
Oh, Frank. Yeah, okay. Frank can't
go turn
flop
the privacy on all y'all's videos off. Oh, I see what she's saying. The YouTube. Yeah, no, I actually have.
Yeah.
I have days worth of footage on YouTube that is private for just my team, and I send to Corey and stuff, and that's it. So sorry, that's staying private.
I'll say if you use my footage,
I'll
it'll
send you
probably
some
hurt you more than
videos.
help you.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's gonna be good. I mean, we got just that's the thing about social media. There's so much out there that hell, how many footage can you see of and we'll just talk about the elite guys for a half a second. How much footage do you see of John Brzenk or Devin or Todd Zilla? You kind of go, oh, their stuff is out there. They do not care. You still got to beat them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
no,
You still got to beat them. So,
and there's like we said before,
so
there's a ton of guys that are out there that are not traveling much because of whatever reason, and now we're going to see them pull people that they haven't pulled, that they like personally, well, I'm just looking at the list real quick. If these two end up lining up to each other, which they probably are going to, is Scott Dodd Jr. and Casey Allen are right off the bat. That match actually seems ridiculously fair, like really close in my mind, because I have pulled both, I've seen both, I know them really well. That matchup is going to be a banger. Like, unless Robert is on here, he could get Scott Dodd too, and I don't know Robert as much, but Scott Dodd and Casey are neck and neck. I mean, they are right on the money. So it's going to be good. And then there's a lot of guys like John Grosslack, who happens to pull a lot of Montana events with me and AJ and a bunch of other people. So he gets beat on by a bunch of big guys and strong guys. So it'll be good for him to get in and pull some guys his level.
So, Casey, I was excited when I said that. I was in the moment. I was on a vibe. All right.
That was a great match.
I was on a vibe.
We could
I
all
didn't teach him any of that, Casey. I would never teach anyone that crap.
Yeah. Corey, I looked over at, Corey kind of coaches me in workout videos and stuff. And afterwards, I was like, hey, what'd you think of that? He goes, the press. I pressed Casey. He's like, don't you ever do that again. I thought you were going to die. I was like,
you got to tell him nobody lives forever.
I had nothing. My left's still injured, where I was positioning, getting my elbow posted forward and staying high against Casey's press left-handed. My tendon still rolled. I'm able to train like pronation and back pressure, but I can't train any side, and I'm doing static wrist flexion. So see if it helps. That was Casey's a good match for me. At least in those circumstances that we had, that match could go either way anytime. So,
you guys have pulled a few times, right? I mean, you pulled last year too, didn't you?
I don't think we did. I pulled the other guy last year.
I just know he beat me last year after I was in this miserable war, and I'm like, man.
No, it was burn it.
Whatever.
There's this website.
Bart. Bart
Arminson.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, Bart, and then he was also a presser, and I don't lose to pressers ever. And so when that happened,
yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jody's gonna pull out the press on you, Frank. You're in trouble.
Do it.
Good to know.
Please see this coming.
Please press me. I beg you. If every single person in the tournament just promises to try and press me.
Hey Frank, I promise you, if you and me in the finals, I absolutely will shoulder roll you.
Shoulder roll. Okay, it's a little different. Definitely.
Let's talk about Jody.
You said what kind of press?
It's true. It's true. I'm talking about the guys who are like, I'm like, that's my move, man. You don't know, like my move. So I see red. I go to the table, and I'm like, I'm gonna hurt you. Don't do that. But
as far as ratings go, it looks like Chocolate Thunder and Chris are pulling first.
Good.
I mean,
I know.
And just to be clear, so for B side, so like the bracket's set up 32 men. But when I go B, if I'm in the A side, or we'll call it the top 32, when I go B side, I'm just going to B side of the top 32. I'm not going to pull one of the bottom 32 if I lose my first match on the top 32, right? That's how the bracket works. It's basically 2 mini tournaments taking place, and then the winners of each tournament pull each other in the finals?
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, the 232s are like this, and
Yep.
they're seated 8 to
Yes. Oh, they're
high to
on
low.
each side. Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen it. Right.
And then
And
they
so,
come down to that
right.
side as well.
Right.
But then they start mixing up down here. So these will get, they'll be highs and lows all over the place, but they're still the same sides. And then they merge together, and then these merge together, and then those two merge together.
I got you. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I remember seeing the bracket now. I know what to look for.
B sides is a cluster. Like B side,
right?
It's gonna be all over the place.
Yeah. So like, if you were to lose, like,
So
win your
basically, just
first match, lose your second, when you go B side, I could be pulling a real amateur, and then my next match, I could have Jody again or Chris.
Yeah.
That would be unfortunate.
It would. It would be rather unfortunate.
It's unlikely because, but it could happen.
Yeah.
And who's doing the brackets, by the way? It's important that the guys who win say, look, we got 64 dudes. Hey, winner, because if you don't, that'll fuck everything up.
I know a guy who's pretty good at brackets that's probably going to run it because he doesn't trust anyone else. But
there you go.
Yeah, so as of right now, it looks like we're going to so I should have mentioned this in the beginning, I guess. Going to do probably 2 tables down to like the top 32 to 16-ish area, and then run 1 table. So as these are coming together, 1 table over here, 1 table over here, as they're coming together, then we'll stop and switch to 1 table, and it gives a little more time for the between matches. Tim Talmadge is probably going to come fly in and be our ref. I got another ref. My dad's really good. He's going to ref too. I'm looking at a couple other guys. There's a lot of bigger events going on that same weekend, so I might be limited on who I can bring in or not. I may have to ref, so that's another thing. If I ref, then my main man Brennan, Kayla Talmadge might be my bracketer.
Okay.
So we'll figure it out, but one way or another, that you will have plenty of time of breaks and everything else between 15, 20 matches or whatever you end up pulling this thing. So
I have to. I should have mentioned it too. What's the cadence? Just so we're all clear. I mean, I should have said this to start the show.
Yeah. So standard ready goes as far as that goes. The only thing that we're changing, and this is what I've done with all the Super Series stuff, is we do 3 fouls. There's basically no warnings. It's just fouls, and you get 3 of them. So, which is a little bit different for most people, but I just think it gives it a little more. It gives you a little more time to screw up once or twice before you pay the price.
Is it going to be get your grip?
No. It's just he's gonna be setting the hands and all that stuff, or you get your own grips and all that. Normal across the board there, but you set your hand, you grab it, and you do it. If he sees wrist, he's wristing it, whatever. Then he's gonna hold, ready, go, and then just like that. Now King's move trap. I don't want to see any of this nonsense because I'm not a fan of that stuff. So we're gonna call if the decline goes negative, obviously stand up, foul, whatever. But the key is just 3 fouls. So it's literally just if I foul the first one, okay, that's basically my warning foul. And if I foul again, then I'm on the hook. So,
and
basic,
I must also
rules.
Put out there too. If the guy has the buckle on his hand, does he get to dictate how tight the strap
my
is?
God.
That's not
a rule. That is
There's
not a rule. There's
going to be some people out there who's going to do that, Corey. You know that. There's going to be people out there.
I will officially say right now, that is not a rule. Official statement. It's not a rule. It's never been a rule. I don't care if you have the buckle or not. You do not dictate what the pressure is. What happens is, if I want it tighter, you say, I want it tighter to the ref. And the ref is going to ask the other guy. And if he says yes, then he makes it tighter. If he says no, it doesn't get any tighter. It doesn't matter. The ref sets the pressure, and that's it. If you want it tighter, you got to ask.
Right.
There are some people who do that. This has actually been debated quite a lot.
So what Chris is talking about there is there's a rule that just recently got changed where so if you're arm wrestling, the ref is looking for the flatness of the wrist, right? But if my hand is across at an angle, if both guys are angled, right, the flatness of the wrist still looks good. We're both square to each other. That match is still allowed to roll. Now that is a rule that just got changed not too long ago. So that is one that you have to be aware of. It's not square to the table. It's square to each other. If the wrists are flat and I'm at an angle and you're at an angle and we're parallel to each other and the ref sees good, then that's a good match.
Yeah,
So
the question
if I
is, if they're
set
not
up
equal-
like
not
this.
equal, who has to
Oh
move?
yeah, I want to know, like, if I'm setting up like this, I'm perfectly straight.
Right.
The other guy's carved, and I close my hand because I had this happen at Texas State.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
So
I was like this, like the guy was grabbing me like this, arm way off to the side, and I was just like this basically, and like we ran it because I'm not gonna supinate to go grab him when I want him to hold on anyways.
Yeah.
So I was perfectly straight. And like my pinky and ring finger weren't even touching his hand because of how much he was like that.
Right.
So what happens in that case? Like, what's the rule? Like, do you make the guy doing this straighten up?
2 things with that one. Right. There's basically two issues there. So number one, the ref is looking for the squareness of both competitors, right? He's looking for the squareness of both. So if you're across this way, but your wrist is flat, and the other guy's like this, and his wrist is flat, they're going to see flat wrists, right? But what I would do as a arm wrestler, I'm not saying this is what you should do or not, but this is what I would do, is I would purposely bend my hand or something so it looks obvious, right? And then what they're going to do is turn you both flat. Where if you don't do that and they do look flat, that technically could start like that. But now that one case that Frank's making is highly unlikely because there's not too many people that do that. But yes, if Frank were to sit up there like this and the other guy comes across and he's like this and his wrist is flat on this side, technically speaking, with the new rule, I guess it would be okay.
And let's clarify Agent of Chaos. Your shoulders can be square, but you could still have an arm angle like this and be in the center depending on where your elbow is. It's not about your shoulders not being square. It's about the direction your hand is pointing. Otherwise, everybody's square. Your elbow would have to be in the middle of the pad facing your opponent square like this, and there'd be no room to set up differently. You could still set up differently with your elbow. It changes your arm angle, not the shoulders.
Yeah, shoulders got to be square. This can go this way, right? The main thing is, obviously your wrist. We're looking at this. If they do angles across, and if you're both doing the angles, whatever. But if you're worried about it,
I'm assuming Agent McCass is in this 64-man because he also says, "What about slips? Is it possible you just post the rules?" So maybe he's a competitor. Maybe.
I don't know. He comments on my channel a lot.
The rules are standard. The only thing that's actually changed is 3 fouls. That's it. Everything else is standard rules. So what's the question about a slip? You're asking like slips in a losing position, or what are you asking? Because
I would imagine so. Like at what
the
point
shoulders need to be square to the table on the start. That's always been a rule. That's never not been a rule. So I don't know where that one's at.
I gotta go, guys. It's been nice, but I gotta zip.
Later.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining the show, Chris. We'll see you soon.
See you guys. Peace.
Take care.
Megan, the shirts that I'm getting are custom made. So I'm talking about maybe adding people's name after, so because I can't get custom made shirts, with everyone's individual names on it. So I'll let you guys know about the names thing later once I see the shirts,
That's fine.
What are the rules on slips? Are all slips okay? So again, if you slip and it's an intentional slip, right? I pull out from the bottom, I do all that kind of crap. That's a foul. That's always been a rule. That's never changed. Slips intentionally are fouls, right? Every single time. If we both slip and it's not intentional, it's going to a strap, right? So that's really the key there. If it's intentionally seen as I pulled out from underneath, I open my hand up, I do, whatever, intentionally doing something, it's going to be a foul every single time. So that's really just the key there.
We need to overthink this. You know what I mean? We shouldn't overthink it. It's just like, dude, just have some fun. But I know there's going to be some shenanigans, because when you have 5 grand on the line and only one person can win it, be prepared for all the other nonsense to come out, unfortunately. So,
and this is an unfortunate problem right here that is happening all over the United States, is that there is so many one-offs where people run random BS rules that don't make any sense because they want to run it that way or whatever, and it kills us for going overseas. It really does, because like all slips go to straps. That's never been a rule. That's just somebody thought that was a good idea to solve the delay in time, which okay, but that's part of the rules, is you can't just purposely let go and get into a strap. That doesn't happen. So.
Well, this is not for TV. I think they did that for TV purposes or whatnot, or fanfare, but this is just your standard. Let's get a grip. Let's do what we do. And then, once the ref says go, then those competitors will have it out and go from there. So,
yeah, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be competitive. It's supposed to be the biggest event that's ever happened in the United States history, maybe. I don't know. Some people say it's not. I don't know. But
for one class, I think it is, man. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I like it. Well, gentlemen, guess what? I'm gonna go ahead and cut you guys loose because it's almost dinner time here out west. So,
yes, sir.
Thanks everybody for joining me on the show. Appreciate that. And Robert, I'm glad you're coming back. I know exactly how you feel sometimes when you pull the same guys over and over. It can get kind of stagnant. I get that, and I'm glad that this came about. So now it makes you intrigued. Like, never pulled that guy before. What does he have? Oh, where's he from? So I'm glad you get a chance to do that and come out, because when you said you're almost that close to selling your table, man, I'm like, wow, So thanks for changing your mind.
Yeah, and just to make a point on that real fast before we go, so for anyone else who's trying to get into this thing, if you're on the cusp, if you're right there, or you have a discrepancy in your brackets or whatever it is, please message me and let me know, because I will look at it and see if we can't figure something out. Like Robert Lopez or Justin Tanner is another one. They were, they thought about retiring, this, that, whatever, names messed up, something like that. Let's fix that stuff and figure out if we can make you work for this bracket, because I'm willing to take some chances on some people after I go look them up and say, oh yeah, you're pretty amateur, whatever. I'll slide you in there if I can, but I won't know until you message me. I'm not going to go actively search for the other ones other than the ones we pulled from the list. So make sure to hit me up.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
That's right. Well, Frank, Corey, Robert, thank you for joining me on the show and stuff. This is not the end, because we're going to have another show about this down the road for sure. So we'll touch base again, probably in the New Year's, sometime in January. We'll let Christmas go through and New Year's, because by the time January hits, it's really going to get deep, and we'll have the picture will almost be crystal clear. And then February, it will be clear. We'll all know who's pulling who, and we can just go from there. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining me on the show. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, and we'll talk soon.
Later.
See ya.
Take care, guys.